Hey, welcome to Connecting the Dots with Cyril on the Monday edition. We're going to talk today, we're going to talk about there are two opposing forces really at work right now in the government. And there's the side that wants to hurry up and begin to reopen businesses in America immediately. And then there's the scientific side that's saying, let's slow down, take a look at this, and make sure that we don't create more deaths, more suffering by reopening too soon. So how does that look from both sides, and how does it look in America, period? Let's not look at America, let's look at this around the world, because the whole world has been shut in. All companies are pretty much closed. So let's connect the dots and let's look at how does this work. So economically, I went to the market yesterday. I went in the market, and for the first time, I haven't been out in about 2 weeks, so I went to the market for the first time, and it was scary. Groceries are getting, there were a lot of empty shelves, a lot of food just not being out, and there was a lot of, and look, you could tell that we have not been working in America or around the world because the food supply is a little thin. So I saw that, and in my head I went, So we need to do something, but how do we do it? And so I heard the scientists, and they were talking. They were like, well, we could possibly reopen the government if we begin to test everybody, and we begin to know who's got the antibodies in them, and what the tests look like, and what parts of the country are better ready to open. The people have the antibodies in their body, which means they've already been sick and got well, and maybe they can go back to work and reopen the country. So we got two sides of this story. So let's look at the economic side first. So of course we're going to need more goods. We're going to need more soap powder, more toothpaste. We're going to need more food. We're going to need more everything, because if not, how long a supply do we have worldwide if no one's working and no one's manufacturing, no one's producing? So I got that. I understand that. That's a sound argument. And how we do it is going to make a lot more sense than just doing it. So the other side of the argument, of course, is we are still in the pandemic. We have slowed the numbers, but we haven't flattened the numbers because, of course, in America, we don't have enough tests anyway. And we got late in the game because the tests that the CDC made were flawed, and they actually didn't work for about a month and a half. And they were not enough of them anyway. So we're behind the 8 ball. So we have all these companies coming online saying that they can finger prick your fingers, and it'll tell them instantly if you've been sick and have the antibodies, and what's that going to tell them. Now, the FDA, the head of the FDA came on yesterday, and he said, listen, I'm all for that, but we have relaxed all of the guidelines that would normally go into making sure a test is ready for market. It's been tested and certified and found to be true. So his fear was all of these tests are going to come online, and they're going to have flaws in them because they haven't been checked, they haven't been tested. Some of them 2 weeks old, some of them 3 weeks old, some of them, some of them just in the incubation stage, but they want to put it on the market and test you and say that, okay, you took this fingerprint test, we see the antibodies in you, that means you were sick at one time, and we hope you're well now, because we know that around the world, people have recovered, are now retesting positive for COVID. So will the test tell us if you're positive for COVID, or do you have antibodies for COVID? And does having antibodies for COVID mean that you're immune from COVID? And in 2 months, that's not enough time to have scientific studies. So I understand that aspect of it from the science level, but then I go back to the business management model or the economic model of how long can the country go without having people work? And so it's going to become a personal solution, I think, of personal sacrifice of the citizens of that country on going back to work and going back to the manufacturing plant. Because then we just heard the Smithfield had closed their plant down for the pork because 500 people tested positive for COVID. So that means that whole plant had to shut down. So that's one of the scary scenarios of if everybody goes back to work too soon and we're really not flattening the curve, we're not testing enough, and then we're testing now for the antibodies using tests that were created 2 weeks ago. You know, will they work? Will they not work? Is COVID immunity permanent, not permanent? We don't know these things. So personally, I fall somewhere in between. I didn't until I went to the market yesterday, and I realized that, no country, not one country can afford to not produce rice. So we don't have any rice. So now we don't have any pork. And then eventually we won't have any of this. And then we won't have any beans. And we won't have it because somebody has to grow it, pick it, sell it, package it, put it in a can, put it in a bag, label it, price it. So, so it has to go through the chain of a business enterprise to make it to market. So can we as a world go 6 months without producing any food or any goods? No, we can't. Okay, so I'm gonna have to be realist now. I'm gonna have to put my scientific hat aside and become a realist. No, we can't. So how do we open the country back up? First, we're gonna have to get some better tests. We're gonna, that's suspending all FDA testing to see if the test is valid, and reliable, which means can it be duplicated, right? And I cannot say they were telling one test, they said they're going to test it on 50 people and then put it on the market to sell it. 50 people. That's not a test. That's not a test. That's folly. That's foolishness and folly. So we do got to test more. We have to let the FDA do what the FDA does. They're gonna have. You can't just have people saying my test works based on I tested it on 10 people and 5 out of the 10 it came back right. And then you want to send 300 million people back to work on a test that you only tested on 10 people and the results was on 5. So no, we gotta slow it down, but not so slow that we run out of goods, but we gotta slow it down and we gotta stop. So let's stop making 20 tests. And that's the problem. We have all of these laboratories creating their own tests so they can get it to market and make some money. Come on, man. Bottom line, they want to make some money. Connect the dots. They don't, they want to do some humanistic stuff. They feel bad, but they want to make some money, right? So somebody said they came out with a home test, right? That you can take the test and send it back in, and then they send it somewhere else and get the results back. That's folly. Because then you have people buying this test, and then they'll be taking the test at home, and they'll send it out, and they'll get some crap back saying that they are okay when really they got COVID. So we got to be real careful with this. So yes, on the one hand, we have to begin to reopen businesses, but we also have to begin to reopen them safely. Because the last thing we need is to have open a box of Captain Crunch, and the Captain Crunch was made in a factory where 1,000 people had COVID. And that means they breathed on it, they sweated on it, they infected all of the cereal with COVID, so now you're eating COVID-infected cereal. You see where I'm at? So we have to be smart with this. So first of all, we have to stop allowing, we can't have 15, 20 rapid responder test kits on COVID that came out last week. No, that's not how we do it. we're going to have to invest in one. You know, we're going to have to invest. We're going to have to put some time and effort into one or two. That's it. You know, I was online yesterday, and it was like 10, 12, 15 companies. You know, we're rushing to get the test, rushing to get the test. And then the FDA says, and we've suspended all of the normal rules and regulations and safeguards for creating tests. Wait a minute. Now is not the time to relax all the rules and regulations for creating a test that's going to test whether people live or die, or whether they are carriers of the disease, or whether they can, because we just heard the other day that a jogger needs to jog 32 feet behind the person they're jogging with. So how do we work in factories? How do we work when we sweating in factories? So we gotta open the government and we gotta open business, but we have to do it smartly. And smartly is we have to create one or two tests. We have to really, really rigorously test these on thousands of people over 3-4 months. And then if they come out, the validity of these tests are so that we can use them again, we can then trust them. Because other than that, what do we use them for? You know, why would I bet not just my life, but bet the life of everybody who opens this product? And we found out that the test that we used to test the antibodies was false. It gave more false negatives than it did positives. So now we realize that there are more people walking around positive than we thought, but we had them back at work already. And they've been canning corn, and they've been canning greens, and they've been bagging up rice, and they've been cutting up meat. And that, you know, you follow where I'm going with this? And this food has now infiltrated the communities, and now the communities where we were flattening the line, now we have a spike in COVID because we rushed too fast to get where we need to be. So no, I do understand we have to start making products again, and I do understand that. And I do understand food supplies, toilet paper supplies. I do understand that we gotta have somebody working at the gas companies to keep the gas running. We gotta have somebody at the water company to keep the water running. We got to have people in these critical places. But we can't have them if they're sick and we don't know it, because the tests that we've tested them with are false or haven't been on the market long enough or researched well enough that we can say that these tests are good. And that's a problem, America, and that's a problem, world. And we need to start making all these tests in different countries and different, because we won't know which test is good. Because here's what I know. If I don't have to prove my results because the studies are not, the facilities are not making me have to prove that what I'm saying is true with my product, I'll lie. I need to make some money. I'll say the product's good and the product's bad. But in this instance, in saying the product's good when it's really bad, we begin to increase the COVID cases, and then we begin to overrun the hospitals again, and then we begin to see more people die, and we are right back where we were at the beginning of this, and then we still don't have enough tests to test people. Man, I looked at the testing thing. That's crazy. It's all over the place. Everybody has a test, and none of them really work. Because they're rushing them to market, right? Just connecting the dots, food for thought. Do we need to get businesses back up and running? Of course we do. We'll run out of product. We'll run out of food, right? I saw 10,000 people waiting to get served all over this country, waiting to get a box of food. But what happens when the food supply is gone? Right? And so we do need to get people back to work. And we do need to begin to develop good tests that can test for the antibodies. And we do need to begin to find out, if the antibodies will make you immune, or even immune for a couple of days, or even immune for a month. We need to know these things. Because then we can begin to restructure the corporations based on solid scientific facts of how COVID works when you recover. Connecting the dots, man. Let's stop being in a rush. Let's connect the dots. Let's make sure that what we got, when we say it's working, is working. Let's make sure that we can actually test the people for antibodies and then figure out if the test is valid or not valid, or if it's replicatable or not replicatable. And we cannot do that if we're only testing 10, 20, 50 people. That's not a big enough subject matter for us to make a generalized statement on this test is safe and we should be able to use it on everybody. Right? So we got to slow that down. We got to whittle those companies from 20 to 30 down to 2 or 4 and fund all of our money into those 2 or 4. And then get those 2 or 4 a chance to get at least 3 months worth of data, on testing people, and then retesting people, and then retesting people, and then retesting people for 3 months, right? Testing them every other day, right? Test them every 4 days, right? To see if the COVID came back, if the antibodies are still the same amount of antibodies, or did they grow or did they lessen? And then that will judge to us, how do we go about getting people back to work and starting the country working again? Hey, I'm with you, man. I want to go to the market and get some food. I want to go to the store and order steak and sit down and eat it. But I don't want to eat a steak that I can't tell if the person who cooked it has COVID or not. That's crazy. Hey, connecting the dots with Cyril. If you like me, like me. If you like me, hit like on my YouTube page and then hit subscribe, right? If you don't. But I hope you at least listen and got something out of what I'm saying, right? So it's 2 opposing forces, but they're really not opposing, right? It's how do we open up employment and get people back to work again? And then the scientific part is how do we do that safely? Hey, you've been connecting the dots with Cyril. Catch you on the other side.